Hello internet world and welcome to another video on the Geekanoids channel. It's time for Monday Madness episode 12 and I've got some really cool Apple news and some other news in the mix as well. And the things that I've thought are absolutely crazy on the internet over the past 24 to 48 hours, including one that very kind viewer Chris actually brought to my attention. Now this is a live broadcast, so if you are watching this live, thank you very much for tuning in. You can actually leave me a live chat, so please do that if you've got something to say or if you've got a comment or a question. And also, if you want to use the super chat feature, you can click the little dollar symbol and that will highlight your comment or question to bring it to my attention. If you're watching this after the live event on the main Geekanoids channel, then as always, please do hit that like button. And if you like what you're watching, please do subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment as well because I answer as many as I can. Now Monday Madness is all about what I've found really interesting on the internet, and also if you've got anything that you want actually discussed in today's show, then please do let me know in the live chat. And the first topic we're going to talk about is in fact a viewer submitted topic. Now before I get onto that first particular topic, the first four of you in the live chat get a big hello. So it goes out to Patrick Sullivan, Warren Sylvester, John Williams and Paul Sergides. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you to everyone else who's tuned in as well. We're going to jump straight into it and talk about this first particular topic, which was submitted by Chris a few days back. And I thought this is absolutely crazy. Yet again, a problem with Apple devices and something that needs to be addressed very quickly in an update. But apparently there's a bug in iOS that crashes apps that display this particular Telugu character, which I believe is an Indian character. And if this particular symbol shows up in a notification, and this affects iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches and Apple TVs, and even some desktops, it can cause them to go into a boot loop, endlessly restarting, and it won't continually boot up. It just sort of boot and then almost get to the startup point and then it will reboot again. Absolutely crazy. Apparently a similar bug was discovered in 2015, which led to Apple products crashing in response to certain letters in Arabic, Marathi and other languages. So something that definitely needs addressing very, very quickly in an update. Crazy that these things slip through, but it just seems to be a constant barrage of problems for Apple just lately, and something that is really bad quality control. In my opinion, these things should have been tested way in advance of a particular version of the operating system being released. It seems like Apple is having a very bad run of late. What do you think about that? There's been so many problems. In fact, another one of today's topics is another sort of a negative about something that Apple is having to manage with one of their more recent product releases. But we'll get onto that very, very shortly. Now, before we cover the second topic, please do leave me some questions as well. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them in the live chat. I'm always happy to chat to you guys. It's really interactive when we do these Monday Madness shows. But whilst I'm waiting for you to come up with what you want me to talk about in today's Monday Madness, let's jump straight back in and we'll cover topic number 2. And this isn't so much a wow factor topic, but something that's really interesting to me. I love my cameras. Obviously I love technology, otherwise I wouldn't still be producing videos on Geekanoids 12 years on. But I love photography and videography, and Fujifilm have been doing great things with their Fuji X range of cameras, and they've actually announced the Fujifilm X-H1. It's the first camera in the series to include 5-axis 5.5 stops of in-body image stabilization, and their new Eterna film simulation feature, which is used during video production to produce some really stunning quality images. Now, apart from the Fujifilm X-H1 camera, they also announced 2 cine lenses, the MKX 18 to 55mm and also a 50 to 135mm lens. Now this camera looks stunning, it really does. You can get an optional battery grip for it. We've also got a really sort of strange tilting screen, so it tilts up and down but also tilts on the other axis as well. So not fully articulating, but certainly looks very interesting. and it also offers up 4K video capture, both full 4K, so DCI 4K and UHD. So it's well worth checking out. Really lovely looking camera. In fact, I've got some product views here as well. So this is a front view of the camera, and then we've got a rear view, and this uses an APS-C size sensor as well. We've got 2 memory card slots on here. The rear, let's have a look at these rear controls. So really good external control via dials and buttons. And here is the top view. We've got a very nice front LCD monitor on the top here, or top I should say, LCD monitor. Very large display, giving lots of information about your various shooting modes and settings. And if we go back to features and into the movie functions, obviously this interests me a great deal, but this new film simulation called Eterna looks very, very interesting. DCI 4K, so this is full 4096 by 2160 resolution video capture, up to 200 megabits per second, so really high bit rate. This looks really very, very good indeed, and high dynamic range F-Log log gamma option as well, and high speed video recording up to 120 frames per second in full HD. And here's a little look at those lenses as well. So it looks like a really exciting camera, and I certainly can't wait to get one into the Geekanoids studio to test and share my opinion with you. Now, as with all of the topics I'm talking about today, there are links to all of these stories down in the video description area. Full credit goes to the websites I'm featuring. That first one was, of course, on The Guardian, and the second one on the Fuji website itself. So let's take a look in the live chat. We've got plenty more of you tuning in. We've got Deepak Murthy, James Baker, David Hepworth and Anthony Graham, who comes up with a question: is the mighty Apple slacking in their quality control? I think they certainly are. In fact, I've cited this for a good few years now. I went through a stage of having many different MacBook Pros because I was having problems with quality control issues. And then I had such a bad run of luck myself personally with Apple's customer service. And then a lot of us have been experiencing problems with iOS. And then there's been more problems with one of their latest products. I'm going to come on to that very, very shortly. We've also got David Hepworth saying, what are your thoughts on Apple delaying new iOS 12 features to focus on bug fixes and performance improvements? This is what I've been asking for. Now, when I did my video about the iPhone 10 and my issues with iOS 11 and my disappointment with Apple, a lot of people, a lot of viewers actually hated on me, saying I was really bashing them, and rightly so. I was saying that they need to focus in on making the next version of iOS much more streamlined, much more efficient and much more stable, and iron out all the bugs. So try not to cram it full of yet more features. And it seems that they are reining things back, refocusing and promising us a really stable build in iOS 12. And it's something they used to do so well with both iOS and macOS. They used to, every couple of sort of versions of the software, instead of adding features, they used to really optimize it. And I'm glad to see that they should hopefully be doing that with iOS 12. So it's a really good move on their part. So anyway, let's jump straight back in. Let's have a look at the next topic which I want to talk to you about, which is another Apple issue. Full credit to Mac Rumors. It's actually some of this text is taken from Business Insider as well, but please do check out the full article. This is about the white rings appearing underneath Apple's new HomePod speaker. Whatever next, Apple is really being taken to task on a lot of their recent releases, and it seems that the Apple HomePod is leaving white rings on certain finishes of furniture. Now, it can be corrected. They can change this, I think it's called elastomer material, is it elastomer material? Basically the silicon underneath the base of the HomePod. This can be fixed, so they can re-engineer and tweak things, and in future models of the HomePod they can hopefully stop this from happening to people's furniture. And maybe they will offer a service to other customers that have already bought, like the early adopters. Maybe they will offer some sort of retrofit service where you can send your HomePod in and have the silicone rubber underneath changed. But One thing I want to talk to you about on this, it is a big problem, and it shouldn't have happened. Again, it sends me absolutely crazy, the fact that Apple don't test these things properly. I recently watched a television programme about IKEA and how they make their furniture and how they test it for watermarks. It was actually about this contractor trying to win a new contract for a new range of furniture, and the first range that they sent out, like the test products they sent out to IKEA, failed the water test. So they had to remanufacture these surfaces with a different sort of laminate, and then they would be tested again, where like a water disc was placed on the top of the furniture and rigorously tested to check that over a period of 20 odd hours, I can't remember the exact amount of hours, it didn't leave any mark on the surface. And this is a furniture manufacturer testing their furniture, something that's from IKEA a lot cheaper than this piece of technology from Apple in the form of their HomePod. And it just makes me wonder, do Apple not think of these things? They're concentrating on the technical aspects of the speaker, but surely somebody must have thought, well, how is this device going to sit on somebody's table or desk? Is it going to move around? And did nobody think, is it going to mark it? You know, is it going to leave marks on the surface of somebody's really nice table? It's absolutely crazy. Furniture manufacturers test their products really rigorously, especially when it comes to things like beds, doors. They have opening and closing machines, things with buttons on, they push in and out. They have sort of robots that do these tests. Why on earth didn't Apple test it? And why on earth didn't they even look at what Sonos were doing and other manufacturers and other products that they've made themselves that don't leave marks? You know, to discover this afterwards, after the initial launch, is yet another sign of a quality control, or certainly a research part of their quality control failing. And it's very expensive for them to put it right afterwards. Surely it would be better to get it right from the offset. And the HomePod wasn't ready to be released anyway. The Apple HomePod, from what I've heard, is a really good sounding speaker, but you can't do stereo pairs. Siri functionality on it isn't fantastic either, and you can't do multi-room until AirPlay 2 is available. So I think they could have delayed it further. People, of course, would have been annoyed if they were waiting longer for their HomePods, but surely that's better than having a product that now causes damage to people's furniture. So I think Apple should learn from these mistakes and really focus back in on what they were good at before. You know, it is a real big shame, Anyway, let's move on to a little bit more positive note to end on today, and that is WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference for 2018. Supposed or rumoured dates point to possibly June the 4th to the 8th. This is going to be very exciting. Hopefully Apple will bring us some really good news about iOS 12, some really good news also about the next version of Mac OS, which seems to be pretty stable at the moment, although Mac OS High Sierra did have a few issues for me. But the calendar we're looking at here is supposedly when the convention centre is booked out, so it really does point to possibly June 4th to the 8th being WWDC 2018. I don't think we're seeing any new hardware. People always hope for hardware at these events, but it is for developers. It is a developers conference, so I think that we will just see some really good news, hopefully, from Apple about the next version of Mac OS and also iOS as well. So that's it for the topics I want to cover. Let's go back into the chat and see what you've all been saying whilst I've been rabbling on. Luke Shrubsoul, hello to you, Luke. Thanks for tuning in. I'm the biggest Apple fan, but why would you buy a HomePod over Sonos? Two Play ones for £299. Very, very true. You can get a stereo pair or stereo capable pair of Sonos ones for £298, I think it is, which is of course cheaper than a single Apple HomePod. And of course the Sonos range of speakers allow you to play Amazon Music, Spotify, loads of other services, including Apple Music as well. And if you go for the new Sonos ones, not the Play ones, a little bit more expensive, but they've also got Amazon Alexa built in, and also Google Home Assistant coming very, very soon, something that the Apple HomePod will never ever support. So I do think that is possibly a wiser choice, and there's a bigger range of speakers as well in the Sonos range. So I hope to be covering some Sonos speakers very, very soon. So do stay tuned for that. But very, very true. Much better value in Luke's opinion and in my opinion. We've also got Joshua Yates saying maybe it's heating up more than they initially thought. Yeah, it is a heat issue as well with the HomePod causing these marks, but they should have done that test. They must have known that this the base of it was going to get hot, generate heat and movement, and then they should have addressed that before it was released. So anyway, that is pretty much it for today's Monday Madness. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you've got any comments or questions about the topics I've covered today, please do leave them in the comments section below. And let me know what you think, both about the WWDC dates, what you're expecting from the Worldwide Developers Conference in 2018, and also whether you think the HomePod is a good buy. Would you buy one, or are you considering a different smart speaker? There are so many available now. We've got speakers, of course, from Sonos, as I mentioned. We've got speakers from Amazon. And, of course, we've got the Google range of speakers. So let me know what you own or what you're considering to buy. And if you think the HomePod is a really good, viable purchase. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. And I'll see you in another video very soon.